Hey, sports fan. I recently talked about my favorite reads of 2025, and that means I also have to talk about my worst reads of 2025. I don't want to spend forever on these because we try to keep it positive here, but listen, if something stinks, we gotta talk about it. These are in no particular order. The first book that I'm gonna talk about, I actually didn't hate as much as the others, but I still didn't like it, and that was The Fireborne Blade by Charlotte Bond. This book is about a female knight who has done something that's kind of like dishonored her, and to regain her station as a knight, she is going to travel into a dragon's den and steal a sword called the Fireborne Blade. No one's been able to steal it. Dragons are very difficult to kill. There's weird magic. It felt like it didn't make any sense, I think, because it didn't really have any explanation. I think this book is also meant to be kind of a sapphic romance, and I did not get that at all. So when it sort of happens, I was like, what's going on? Why is this happening? It felt like it came out of nowhere. It felt like it was almost, I don't want to say fan service, but it felt like pandering maybe to a specific audience. It just wasn't organic. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel like it even belonged in the story. This is a duology, which is also strange because it's very, very short. So it's like two extremely short books that probably could have been one book. I don't know. I am not going to read the second one because I didn't like the first one very much. I felt like the characters are kind of boring and flat. I felt like the magic didn't make sense. The things that were explained were not explained well. The character I think that we're supposed to like was not very likable, and none of the other characters were really discernible from each other. The one thing that I did really, really like about this book, and it's why I gave it 2 stars instead of 1, is that interspersed between the current happenings, we get historical record of like dragons and knights who have tried to fight dragons, and we also get personal accounts of knights who have fought dragons or people who have interacted with dragons or knights, and we get kind of like scholarly lessons about dragons. Those were excellent. Those were the best parts. The actual story that was happening that I was supposed to care about, I did not care about, but those little tidbits of personal recollections or historical events, those were great, and I could have read an entire novel of just those. Unfortunately, that is not what we got. I didn't enjoy the Fireborne Blade. I have no intentions of reading the second in the duology because I just did not enjoy the first. I gave it 2 stars, would not recommend. Next up on my list of books that I just did not like this year, The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This book was so boring. This book is about a young woman named Emmanuelle living in a very rigid puritanical society, and she discovers that she might have some dark magical powers passed down through her bloodline. Emmanuelle is so dull, so boring. She doesn't really do anything until the very end of the book, almost kind of saves the story, and then she makes some silly choices, in my opinion, that just made everything fall flat and feel pointless. There is a very tepid romance between Emmanuelle and the boy that everybody wants. He's so handsome, he's so powerful, he's so smart and cool and special. Everybody loves him, and for some reason, reasons unbeknownst to us, why would we need to know, he loves Emmanuelle. He would do literally anything for her. He actually sacrifices everything, his entire future, his standing, his family, for this girl who is just the blandest, boringest girl in the land. It just feels like nonsense. The whole story kind of feels like nonsense. Every time it starts to get good and interesting, the author would wrench us right out of it and make things stupid again. I gave this book 2 stars because it's not the worst thing I've ever read, but it wasn't good. I would not recommend it. There was supposed to be a sequel to this book, but I think maybe the author realized it was stupid and decided not to write it. All right, now we're really getting into the meat and potatoes because these last three books I hated so much. They were so bad. I truly, truly hated them. And listen, I don't discriminate. I think I hated them all equally. In the first slot, I have Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. This book was so stinky. It was just a stinky, poopy, not fun time. Graveyard Shift is about a bunch of weird losers who live in a college town and they all work overnights in some capacity or another. They all happen to meet up in this graveyard to smoke cigarettes on their graveyard shift smoke breaks. On this night, they show up to smoke and there's a big hole that's been dug. It's called a grave repeatedly, but it's just a hole. That is the catalyst for the story. Two of our characters witness something being put into the hole by somebody. They go on like kind of a Scooby-Doo adventure to figure out what's being thrown in the hole and why. Everything is so circumstantial. All of these people just happen to be perfectly aligned to be able to unravel this mystery. So much so that it really does feel like an episode of Scooby-Doo. Actually, I think an episode of Scooby-Doo would be better because there's less smoking, less annoying self-centered idiots, and more sandwiches. I thought the writing in this book was fine, but it was so brief and so boring and annoying that I can't give it more than 1 star. I just hated it. It's barely even worth talking about. Next up, The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. Again, it's just not very good. One of the worst things about this book is that it was almost good. It was almost a 3-star book, but the ending was just such trash. The Death of Jane Lawrence is about a woman named Jane Shoringfield who enters into not an arranged marriage, but like a contractual marriage where she doesn't really want to be married to this man. She just needs a place to go, basically. She wants to work and have her business and kind of live her own life, but she needs to be attached to a man for reasons. Honestly, thinking about it, I don't understand why she had to marry him. Anyway, Jane marries this incredibly self-important man named Dr. Augustine Lawrence. His one condition for this marriage is that she never come to his ancestral home, and because of plot, she ends up going there and staying there for an extended period of time. Almost the entirety of this book takes place in the ancestral home. Setting is actually really good. It's really creepy and spooky. There are some weird things that happen there. She gets drawn in to Augustine and his friends and their weird like occult stuff that they do. In fact, everything wasn't that bad until the end of the book. The very, very end of the book really just ruined everything for me. I hated the end. It's way too happy-go-lucky. These people who are kind of trash human beings get an ending that I don't think they really deserved. Jane as a character doesn't really make any sense to me because she kind of goes from like a girl boss, yes, queen slay, to a simpering, thirsty idiot who is just like hot in the pants for this doctor for no particular reason because he is incredibly unpleasant. I didn't like this. I gave it 2 stars. It could have been a 3-star, I think, if the ending had been darker and less like happy-go-lucky, but the ending is what it is. This book is what it is. Moving on. Last on my list, but certainly not least, and no one is going to be surprised by this, One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I hated this book. It's terrible. I can't recommend it to anybody. If you like this book, that's great. I'm happy for you. This review is not for you. One Dark Window is about a young lady named Elspeth who lives in a kingdom that is sequestered off from the rest of the world by a magical mist that if you wander into it, you go crazy and presumably die. This world has magic that is relegated to physical tarot cards, but there are some people who, if you survive a fever, you come away with it with a magical ability, and Elspeth is one of these people. She has a chance encounter with a highwayman who's trying to steal profit cards, and that is the catalyst to her and this highwayman attempting to cure the land of their kind of magical curse, the fever, the mist, all of it. Additionally, part of Elspeth's magic is that she has an ancient spirit living in her head. It can communicate with her. It can sometimes take over her body or like lend her strength to help her in perilous situations. This book is so stupid. It's so stupid. And it sucks because the premise makes it sound like it should be interesting. The idea of like an ancient, malevolent spirit living in your mind that talks to you, tells you secrets, keeps your secrets, and can sometimes overtake your body and do things is wild. And that should be like a crazy, cool, interesting, exciting thing to read. And it just isn't. Elspeth is boring. Everybody in this book is boring. The only character that is even remotely interesting is the nightmare, the spirit that lives in her head. But even he is like, the way that he speaks is so annoying and juvenile that I'm like, are you 114 or 14? The writing is exceptionally underdeveloped. There's a lot of potential in the story. It's just the execution is so shockingly, impressively bad. This is my big complaint with this book. I feel like it had a lot of potential and that potential just never reached fruition. This is also a romantasy, so there is a romance that's supposed to be building in this book. The romance is so stilted and lukewarm that it's not even like fun to read. In fact, when the two love interests finally bone, it's so freaking cringy. It's so weird and gross. You know what? I'm gonna find it for you. This is the point at which our two love interests actually get together and bone. He looked me in the eye, kissed me hard, and yanked me to the cusp of the bed. The cusp of the bed? Can I kiss you? My voice shook. A bit late to ask, isn't it? Not on your mouth, Elspeth. His eyes turned wicked as he lowered himself to his knees. Stop. That's so... It's so gross. It sounds like... I'm sorry. It literally sounds like what a 14-year-old thinks is super hot. Can I kiss you? It's a little late to ask, isn't it? Not on your mouth, Elspeth. It's so gross. It's just the absolute cringiest way to describe. And that is like, that's as hot as it gets. If you're gonna write the scene and you're gonna like describe in any amount him performing acts on her, then can you make it not the cringiest, weirdest, gross crap I've ever heard in my life? Can you just be normal about it? You may notice these 8 bajillion tabs here. It's not 8 bajillion, it's 62. I counted. These 62 tabs are every time the words his green eyes or his gray eyes are used. So every time their green eyes or their gray eyes are mentioned, and I want to clarify, one main character has green eyes and one main character has gray eyes. 1 star. This is, if I had to give these books like a numerical value for how much I hated them, this is at the top. This is numero uno, worst book I read this year. And that's even after how much I hated Graveyard Shift. So like that's saying something. It's not just bad, it's wasted potential. All right, sports fans, those are the books that I just absolutely hated this year. Thanks for sitting down and chatting with me. If you read any of these and you hated them, or if you loved them, let me know. Say hi to the hot dog.